Hi, I'm Tom with a list of interesting things. Following the horrors of the last few days, I'll have a few more videos updating you guys on plenty of things, including the 25th Amendment, new impeachment considerations, and coup attempts that preceded this one. So I hope you subscribe to stay up to date on those and all the most interesting things. But today, I have some things that are a little bit lighter, though no less impactful, certainly. Today on the list of interesting political things is the Georgia Senate runoff elections. Let's dive right in. Georgia has a very interesting method of determining winners to unclear elections. We've discussed this before, but to simplify, if there's more than two candidates in an election and no candidate receives more than 50% of the vote, then the top two vote getters move on to a runoff election at a later date. In the November election, that's precisely what happened with both of Georgia's Senate election. Appointed Republican Senator Kelly Loeffler came in behind challenger Reverend Raphael Warnock. But because there were so many candidates in the race, neither candidate got more than 40% of the vote. Also, incumbent Senator David Perdue came in ahead of young challenger John Ossoff by a healthy margin, but missed out on capping the 50% margin by the slimmest of percentages. And so, with the rest of the country getting ready to move on to the new administration, Georgia geared up for another campaign season with two Senate runoff elections coming up. The importance of the race is obvious, and money flooded in, and so did a whole lot of big-ticket endorsements. After the November election, the Senate margin was 50 Republicans to 48 Democrats. This meant that whichever party won these two Senate races in Georgia would decide who won control of Congress. Election day arrived this past Tuesday, and though the votes took a long time to tally, and though both races were extremely narrow, Warnock and Ossoff both managed to win the races for the Democratic Party. In an incredible upset, Georgia went from being a solidly Republican state to being purple with two Democratic senators. So I'm sort of inclined to ask the same thing that you are. How did this happen? Well, there are quite literally too many reasons to count, but I'll go over three in particular. The first is the standard. The changing demographics in Georgia over the last 4 to 8 years have seen a significant shift toward young people in the cities, and especially in Atlanta and its suburbs. Young people, especially young people of color, moved in droves to Georgia, and in particular to the city of Atlanta. The second is a bit of an offshoot of that. It's organization. These young people, in particular these young people of color, have gotten fired up over the last few years because of some frankly top-tier grassroots organizing from individuals like Stacey Abrams. The amount of engagement drummed up by Abrams has been staggering. To give some perspective, more than 70,000 new registrants were filed between the November general and the January runoff. That's right, more than 70,000 new registrants just between the two elections. Those kind of numbers are a testament to the community engagement created across the state in the last few years. And finally, there's the obvious. Donald Trump has been the most divisive figure in modern American history, and I don't think that's too controversial of a statement. The president fires up his opposition with his rhetoric even more than he fires up his base. Georgia has been tipping purple for many years, but I think it's pretty safe to say that Donald Trump and the things that he the things that he says and the manners in which he says them, those were the things that caused Georgia to finally tip from purplish to blue. So, the Senate has gone blue. Now that it's flipped, the U.S. government is in a very interesting position, one that it hasn't seen since the beginning of the Obama administration. I love this graph, by the way. This shows the control of the Senate, the House of Representatives, and the presidency mapped from 1855. I think this is super cool. I'll leave a link down below. Feel free to check it out. It's amazing. Anyway, they haven't been in the position that they're in right now since the beginning of the Obama administration right here. Currently, there is a governmental trifecta for the Democratic Party. That means that they are in control of the House of Representatives and the Senate and the presidency, as you can see from the three blue bars stacked right on top of each other. I'll make a full predictions video soon, but briefly, I'd love to go over some of the things that this allows the Democratic Party to do. Now, they have a very narrow 50-50 margin in the Senate. That's extremely slim. And a relatively centrist Democratic president. So they'll probably be unlikely to pass anything incredibly radical, but some of the policies that the left and the center left have been pushing for some years now should be fairly easy to implement. These include, but certainly aren't limited to, pushing for Puerto Rican and District of Columbian statehood, something that the populations of both of those places have been pushing for decades, and both of which affirmed this year in votes for statehood in both places. I think that those are attainable goals with this Senate. Now, some of the more moderate climate change prevention measures that Biden has been pushing for should go pretty easily, and some moderate, and I'll stress moderate, healthcare reform and moderate police reform should be easy to pass too. Some things that the left will be pushing for, but will be much more difficult to implement with such a tenuous control of the Senate, will include more impactful police reform, more impactful climate change, I should say more impactful climate action initiatives, and of course, universal health care. I think universal health care will be on the table, but with a 50-50 margin in the Senate, all it takes is one senator, one Democratic senator to say, I don't really like that idea, for it to fall from 51-50 with the vote, with a tie-breaking vote from Vice President-elect Harris, to go to a 49-51 losing vote. I think elections reform and judicial reform will also be on that list after everything that happened in the Trump White House, but I think that it also isn't extremely likely. Both of those, I should say, are not extremely likely to pass. I'll keep you updated on I'll keep updates coming, I should say, on the state of the U.S. Senate. So keep an eye out for videos on the 2021 to 2023 policy predictions coming soon. Happy New Year, and until next time, be like the Georgia Senate runoffs. Be surprising, be paradigm shifting, and above all, be interesting. See you next time.